Goswami Tulsidas describes how the advent of Lord Ram at the height of spring caused nature to rejoice and the heavens to celebrate. Likewise, this season urges us to uncover our own blissful nature as we step into this special anniversary year. We wish our readers a truly transformative 2026. May we live in harmony, let go of all negativities, and welcome the birth of the divine in our hearts, ushering in an abiding eternal spring. Together in His light, guided by His grace, as we step into the new year 2026, let us pause for a moment and open our hearts in deep gratitude to Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda, whose radiant love, blazing wisdom, and boundless joy continue to guide us from the darkness of limitation to the light of truth. This year marks the 75th year of Chinmay Mission, a sacred milestone in His divine vision to uplift lives through the revival of Sanatan Dharma and the spread of Vedantic wisdom. Let us lovingly offer this year at His free feet by sharing His name, His message, and His glory through every initiative, every celebration, and every noble effort of this momentous journey. If not now, then when? Let us walk together in His Spirit, living His message with conviction, working in oneness, and carrying His light into every heart we touch. And as we do, let us keep our hearts anchored in gratitude, ever aware of the blessings of Bhagavan and the grace of Puja Gurudev in our lives. May there be peace, may conflicts end, and may happiness and harmony prevail for ourselves, for all beings, and for the world around us. Swami Swarupananda. Thoughts and quotations from Swami Chinmayananda. When you realize your supreme divine nature and decide to live the higher life, that becomes the dawn of the new year. By the architect of your own life, be the architect of your own life. Build your own foundation and choose the right bricks. Your life is your own responsibility to make or to mar. As this year ends and the fresh year is being welcomed, let peace and goodwill burst in our hearts. Let us, during this year, learn to heal ourselves of all our bleeding ulcers of misunderstanding, jealousy, and regrets that erupt from time to time in our heart. All attempts at leading a spiritual life are to bring about consciously a change for the better, and we have got this capacity to change. Who has no problems? Everyone has. A crowd of problems marching towards us with plans to conquer us is life to the majority. When we maintain poise, problems and challenges vanish like mist before the rising sun. A problem is never solved by succumbing to it. In fact, Problems grow, fatten, and nourished by the number of victims that come under their onslaught. Make a grave for all problems. Do not make a grave of problems for ourselves. Even the grave is no problem for those who know how to meet it. Hinduism has only one goal, the removal of man's spiritual ignorance. It is through the mind that we perceive the world and gain experiences. As our mind, so is our world. With a courage born out of our inner convictions, we shall face our problems and learn to live the enduring values as indicated in the Upanishads. Knowledge is infinite, and the time at our disposal is short. To think of acquiring knowledge through outward seeking is asking for the impossible. Enough of being a samsari. Kill the mind. This is the golden key. The gate is avidya. It shuts you out of your own palace. May the coming year bring all sincere seekers the full reward for their self controlled life of ennobling thoughts in terms of their own experienced inner peace and outer achievements. The only true warrior is he who can tirelessly fight in the inner world and gain a victory over his own mind and attachments. Since everything is his, whatever is permitted by him, take it as his and live life in this attitude of dedication and gratitude, which is the way to true enjoyment. Cultivate the right attitude to life and all that is happening around you. Your attitude in life determines your altitude in spiritual life. Start living the divine life, then yours shall be the daily experience of the blessings of the Lord, even in your simple domestic life. May all members grow up in the vision and dynamism. May your urge to serve grow day by day. When this happens, then only there can be a new year for you and the world around you. Rise above all the passing pricks of life and rest joyously in the fuller life of japa, contemplation, and quiet study. Lord, with your help, may we live a noble life of greater undertakings in your seva all through the coming year. An intelligent choice of thoughts changes the character pattern in us, thus placing the entire destiny of our life in our own hands. With the study of the scriptures and meditation, you will know how to go beyond the mind. The infinite is our nature. We must realize this and we would find ourselves at our journey's end. With a silent mind, look around. There is nothing but Brahman everywhere. Every object is nothing but Brahman. If one becomes unhealthy and inefficient In the present, certainly, he has no reason to hope for a greater future. Self realization is not an impossibility. To realize the self is itself the greatest worship that one can offer to the self. Do so spend all your energy in the right direction. The Jiva can realize the self only through self effort. Let us meet again in the new year, each a new person in ourselves, more mature, more humane, more cheerful, and more peaceful. Meet life as it reaches us with or without the things our minds demand. Our life can be a glorious joy, a brilliant success. Gita. I wish you all a happy and cheerful spiritual year of steady devotion and effortless studies. Chinmay Lahari, the particular form the great Lord took in the name of Sri Swami Tapovanam has dissolved and he has gone back to merge into his own Swarupa. January 16 is Tapovan Maharaj Aradhana Day. He has now become the essence in each one of us. Wherever we find the glow of divine compassion, love, purity, and brilliance, there we see but Shri Gurudev with his ever smiling face. He has left his sheets. He has now become the self in all of us. Ours is a new great responsibility. We, his Shishya family, have to see that he finds an ample field in our individual bosom to express himself. Not only as it sufficient, not only is it sufficient for us to evolve ourselves, we must learn to release him to visible expression everywhere. It is a glorious to chance now to take a sacred oath upon ourselves that we shall not rest content until he is fulfilled. Hindu revival is the Tapovan Vratam. At least we who are his immediate disciples must consider the full moon day of each month as a sacred day for fasting, study, prayer, and deep meditation. Let us observe the Purnima day of every month as a day for inspiration and self dedication till the Tapovan Vratam of the Hindu revival is accomplished. Tapovan Prasad Festival Calendar 2026 January 1st New Year 14 Makar Sankranti 16 Tapovan Maharaj Aradhana Day 26 Republic Day 15 February Mahashivratri 4th March Holi 26 March Ramnavami 2nd April Hanuman Jayanti 21st Shankar Jayanti 8th May Chinmay Jayanti 29th July Guru Purnima 30th June Guruji's birthday 3rd August Chinmay Aradhana Day 15th Independence Day 28th Raksha Bandhan Gayatri Japa 4th Janmashtami, 4th September Janmashtami, 14th September Ganesh Chaturthi, 2nd October Gandhi Jayanti, 11th October Navaratri, begins 20th October Saraswati Puja, 21st Vijayadashmi Dasera, Vidyarambham, November 8th Deepavali, 20th December Gita Jayanti, Tapovan Jayanti. He alone is Father Mother Goal. An article written by Param Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda. At every stage of consciousness, certain tendencies are natural and cannot simply be dropped. As long as one operates from this level of individualized existence, it is only natural to have desires, passions, lusts, greed, and a longing for possessions. One cannot merely be asked to renounce them. As long as a child is a baby, he wants only toys. We cannot hand him a pencil and paper and expect him to write the alphabet. The child must first be allowed the freedom to play. Similarly, as one grows in awareness of one's higher nature, one naturally begins to acquire subtler knowledge. In this process, the old, trivial, egocentric vanities and vulgarities start to fall away of their own accord. This is Jnana Yajna, the offering of ignorance into the fire of growing knowledge. Ultimately, the ego itself is burnt up in the total conflagration of wisdom as one awakens to a higher state of consciousness. Through study, reflection, and deepening understanding, one lets go of old ideas and beliefs. The Lord is invoked through this yajna of knowledge. Three ways of invoking the divine. How does this invocation, this upasana take place? Shri Krishna states, ज्ञान यज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो माम उपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम. Others engaged in the yajna of cultivating knowledge worship me through various methods. Some see me as undifferentiated oneness that is non-different from them, while others see me as separate from them. Still others worship me in the infinite manifestations of my cosmic form. You ask, is the Lord to be invoked as one's own true nature? Or is he a remote postal address somewhere in heaven, Vaikuntha, Kailas, or somewhere up in the clouds? If I think God is up there and I must go to him, then Vishnu, reclining in Vaikuntha, becomes a destination. I have to go there and declare, Bhagavan, I have arrived. Should I regard the Lord as dwelling within me, as the one beam of consciousness, the source of all knowledge, in whom everything exists and who alone truly is? Or should I understand Ekatvena? I am that reality and strive to discover this identity? Or should I worship him as separate from me? Pruthaktena, he is out there and I am his servant. Where is the Lord? Who is the Lord? Krishna. Where is he? And this is the challenge. If he is truly with me always, it can feel inconvenient. If he is there, I may visit when I choose, look upon him and return. But if he is here with me every moment, then I cannot escape his presence. Therefore, I cannot always afford to have him with me. A Vedantic wake up call. Ekatvena, he is one with me. I am one with him. Prutatvena, he is something apart and I strive to reach him. Or Vishwatamukham, he is the one whose face is everywhere. Across all ages, seekers approach the divine in three ways. Some seek total identity, he and I are not two. Others dare not claim such closeness. He is the Karma Phaladata, the dispenser of results, a supreme executive seated far away, and some dismiss it all. There is no God, no temple, just superstition. So, where is God? He is in the poor, in the suffering, in every living being. He is Vishwatomukham. Through every pair of eyes, He alone looks out. He is the very existence in all. Through Jnana Yajna, the seeker purifies the mind and contemplates whether as the oneself or as the Lord, separate from us or as the whole universe that is His expression, whichever door one chooses. Sincerity reveals the path. Last night, I had a dream in which my wife and I were performing an elaborate Ganesh Puja. We sat amid flowers and I chanted with devotion. My wife kept her hand on my shoulder, effortlessly collecting merit. We completed the arati and bowed, and I happily took a large helping of prasad. Then a scorpion bit me, and I woke up. Everything vanished. Where was I? Who was I? Where were the temple, the flowers, the mantras, my wife, Ganesha, the prasad? Where was I? What was happening? Who was I? My mind. My wife, my mind. The flowers, my mind. The mantras, my mind. The Ganesha, my mind. The prasada, my mind. The arati, my mind. Everything in the dream was nothing but the projection of my own mind. I am the essence. Now the teacher says, Arjun, this yajna that you are doing, whatever you are doing, do you know that everything is only me, myself? Aham karturaham yajnas Aham kraturaham yajnasvadha ham ham ausadham mantro ham hameva jamaham agniraham hutam. It is I who am the Vedic ritual, Kratu. I am the sacrifice and I am the oblation offered to the ancestors. I am the medicinal herb, I am the Vedic mantra, I am the clarified butter, I am the fire and the act of offering. All these are nothing but the higher consciousness. Disturbance in that is called names and forms. The eloquent with which, the equipment with which you experience the world outside, the objects you pursue there, the responses you make, and the joys and sorrow arising from these interactions, all are in me. The one infinite consciousness playing as many names and forms. Therefore, the lower nature is nothing other than the higher nature. The difference is only that the lower nature is ever in a state of flux, while the higher nature is timeless, permanent, eternal, immutable, the peace that passeth all understanding. The one source of all, the Lord adds, Pitahamasya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitram Omkara Ruksama Yajurevacha. Of this universe, I am the father, I am also the mother, the sustainer, and the grandsire. I am the purifier, the goal of knowledge, the sacred syllable Om. I am the Rigveda, the Samaveda, and the Yajurveda. As a university student, especially one studying biology, a doubt may suddenly arise upon hearing the first statement. Sir, if God is the father of the universe, who is the mother? Krishna understood the temperament and intellect of his student Arjun. The moment he declared, I am the father of the whole universe, he anticipated that Arjun would naturally ask, then who is the mother? So, in the same breath, he continues, I am the father, I alone am the mother. He makes it clear there is no need for further questioning. He identifies himself as Pitamaha, the grandmother, and as grandfather, and grandmother too. He is the sole source from which everything originates. Swamiji, I still don't understand. I am confused. How can God be everything? There is no need for confusion. Who is the father of the dream? The waker's mind. My mind was the father of the dream. And who was the mother? Swamiji. In that sense, my mother itself was the mother. Exactly. Just as a mental projection arises from the waker's mind, the father represents the source. The mind is both the father and the mother. It is the source of the entire dream. Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha. Ved means to know. Vedyam is that which is to be known. In all the scriptures of the world, the truth to be known, to be awakened into, is this very reality. It is not Krishna, the historical person, who is referred to as me, but the higher self, the reality to be realized. Pavitram, the supreme purifier, the greatest detergent. When this truth is realized, all vasanas are vanished away, and the mind becomes utterly pure. The last thought is thoughted, and the next thought does not arise. It is absent in that stillness. The mind withers away. This pure mind itself is the Lord. On reaching me, even in meditation, purification begins. On reaching me, one becomes the purest. Therefore, I am the greatest purifier. Vedyam Pavitram Omkara. In the Vedic literature, this supreme state is represented by the sound symbol Om. By itself, Om is merely a sound, yet it points to a particular state of consciousness. All scriptures, in essence, speak of this same truth. In those days, there were three Vedas, the Rug, Sama, and Yajur. Today, we may include the Bible, the Quran, and the Buddhist scriptures. Though the words differ, Buddha state, Allah, Father in heaven, they all point to the same state of consciousness to be realized. The way, the journey, the home. Elaborating further, Bhagavan proceeds, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Surut Prabhava Pralayasthanum Nidhanam Bijamavyayam. I am the supreme goal of all living beings, and I am also their sustainer, master, witness, abode, shelter, and friend. I am the origin, end, and resting place of creation. I am the repository and the eternal seed. The supreme state is indicated by about a dozen arrow marks. Gati. In Sanskrit, Gati means both the path and the goal. It can be translated as I am the way, I am the goal. The Bible also reflects this idea in Sanskrit, however, a single word captures it perfectly. I am the Gatihi. To contemplate upon me is the way, and what is to be reached me. To contemplate upon the state of consciousness is itself the means to reach that very state, Gatihi. Bharta, the one sole supporter of everything, just as the waking mind supports the entire dream world, as the ocean supports all its waves, as clay supports all earthen pots, as gold supports all ornaments, and as cotton supports all cotton fabrics. So too, I am the sole support of all names and forms in the universe. It is all the mind playing within me. I am the very material cause of the whole universe, Bharta, Prabhu, the Lord, the sole proprietor and owner. Think of a proprietor in an office or an IT company. If you wonder who the boss is, just stand at the door and watch. Employees stroll in, chatting loudly. No one is at their desks. The whole place is in casual disorder because the boss hasn't arrived yet. Then you hear polished shoes approaching. Someone is first, the boss is coming. Instantly, silence. Everyone is seated, heads down, buried in work. Everything hums in rhythm. This, that's the power of the boss. At 3:30 p.m., the boss remembers some work and calls his assistant. He must weave his way through the clerks. There is no private exit. By the time his car pulls out of the gate, every pane stops moving. Cupboards are locked. Everyone vanishes except the poor deputy who must still answer for everything. 20 minutes later, the boss suddenly remembers a file. Driver, turn back. When he returns to the office, will he find anyone there? Only a lone peon remains, closing the doors and windows. When the one who maintains order departs, everything collapses. When he is present, everything flows in harmony. That is Prabhu, the Lord, the inner proprietor. Who is it that, when he is with you, everything functions perfectly, and when he departs, everything becomes inert and lifeless? Ram Nama Satya Hai. To be continued. Beyond words, only love. When you are compiling the known facts of Sri Gurudev's life and bringing out to the public the glory that he was, what message can I write? I shall consider myself fulfilled if my life and work become my message of adoration and gratitude to my teacher. Swami Tapovanam was not an individual, he was an institution in himself. He was not a person, he was a personality. Words can never gather him in their embrace, love alone can. Let us all adore him and work for his fulfillment, which is the goal of Chinmay mission. Kathopanishad, Part 45, Param Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayanandaji. The Atma Tattva cannot be seen by our senses, but as stated in the previous mantra 9, Hृदा Manisha Manasa Bhikluptaha. Through the method of Shravanam, listening, Mananam, reflection on what we hear, and Nididhyasana, meditation, it is possible to know it. The next mantra indicates the process of meditation and what we have to reach through that, in spite of being told repeatedly that we are the Chaitanya Swarupa Atma. Our identification remains with the mind. We think meditation means absorbing the mind in the Atma, Sometimes the mind gets absorbed and becomes peaceful, but sometimes it does not, and we feel at a loss. But in the process, we forget that the Atma is one's own nature and it is always the same. So the struggle goes on. There are two aspects of meditation. One is to withdraw the attention of the mind from all that is considered as the world of objects, including the senses, mind, and intellect, and the second aspect is to turn its attention to the self. This is called the practice of meditation. We have discussed this process earlier also, where it was advised to withdraw the speech in the mind in the intellect, and the intellect in the total intellect. And with that peaceful mind, meditate on self. Now let us see what that state is when the mind is completely absorbed in the self. यदा पञ्चावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टति तामाहुः परमां गतिम्. 10. People often ask how many days it takes to become realized. There is no fixed time period for this. Whenever it happens, yada, the five sense organs pancha jnanani stand still avatishtante along with the mind manasasaha, and the intellect also does not act and remains still. Buddhischa na vicheshtati. The scriptures and masters call this state Tam Ahuhu, the supreme state of just being your own self, as the final goal, Paramam Gatim. Actually, you are always your own self. You cannot be anything else. But because of identification with other things, we feel that we are something else. When it is said that the senses and mind become still, it means that the sense organs are not perceiving the world of objects. The intellect is not active in judging, deciding, and so on. When the upadhis are not performing any of their functions, it is paramagati. There is always a chance of people thinking that it is like deep sleep, as there also the senses do not perceive anything. The mind does not think or feel, and the intellect does not judge or perform any of its functions. However, that is not the same as meditation. First of all, sleep is that which happens. It overpowers a person and he helplessly goes into a state of total inertia, ignorance, and darkness. Sleep is the state of not knowing, tamo vibhuta, overpowered with darkness, but in the supreme state, one is not sleeping. For meditation, a person should select a quiet place and time so that outer disturbances are minimal. Generally, other aspects can be controlled, but there may be some sound or smell that may be unavoidable, and the meditator must not react to it. Even if the senses receive inputs like sound, the mind should not get disturbed and continue to think about it. The mind gets disturbed because of sense perceptions or some past memories, and the intellect is disturbed by the thoughts of the future. Be alert. Don't let the mind and intellect get disturbed. Thus, when they all remain quiet, you remain as your own self. There is no awareness of anything else. Let us see the next mantra which takes this thought further. Tam yogamiti manyante स्थिरामिन्द्रियधारणाम् अप्रमत्तस्तदा योगो अप्रमत्तस्तदा भवति योगो हि प्रभवाप्ययौ तां योगमिति मन्यन्ते स्थिरामिन्द्रियधारणाम् अप्रमत्तस्तदा भवति योगो हि प्रभवाप्ययौ 11. A state when the senses bahya indriyas and the mind antarindriyas become still is referred to as Thiram Indriya Dharanam. In that state, there is no perception through the senses and no oscillation of the mind, nor is there any judging or deciding. You have become just pure consciousness. This firm state of Indriya Dharanam is called Yogam. Tam Yogamiti Manyante. Great sages call this as yoga. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says that generally we understand yoga as a union, two things becoming one. But this is a peculiar yoga which actually is a viyoga, separation. We saw that our own Swarupa is Chaitanya and Ananda only. However, because of ignorance, there is identification with the mind, intellect, and body. As a result, it goes outward and becomes a jiva. So it feels as if there are two entities, Atma and Jiva. That is why it is advised to practice yoga. The problem is that the jiva gets associated with sorrows. Dukkha Sanyoga. When the jiva slowly withdraws its attention from the conditionings and gets absorbed in the self, there is only one Atma Tattva. There is no second entity. Thus, the jiva is completely disassociated from sorrow along with its cause. Normally, the sorrow temporarily disappears in our sleep. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has also described yoga as dukkha, sanyoga, viyoga. Yoga, Bhagavad Gita 6.23. Yoga is the dissociation from our association with sorrows. Generally, as in the union of two people in marriage, the two individual entities remain intact, but here the self alone is there. The mind was, anyway, a fictitious entity. So, in this process of attaining yoga, continuous yoga is taking place as we withdraw our attention from all that is not our own self. Separation is happening all along. I was the Chaitanya Ananda Swarupa only. The next line is very important. Apramatastada bhavati. When such a thing happens, the meditator becomes alert, apramatta, vigilant. There is no sleepiness. Now Bhagavan Shankaracharya poses a question. When the mind has already merged in the sleep self, who will become apramatta? Thus, tada bhavati implies that it is at the time of practice. The person should be extremely alert during meditation. Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda used to say that during meditation, the mind should be peaceful, alert, and vigilant. And once it becomes one with self, there is nothing else. So, who is there to become alert? In Bhaja Govindam, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Kuru Avadhanam, Mahat Avadhanam, Bhajo verse 30. When practicing meditation, you have to be very alert and ensure your mind remains focused on the object of contemplation without falling asleep or getting distracted. Shankaracharya ji has given another meaning as well. Once the person has seen the truth for himself, not merely read about it or heard it from the teacher, he also becomes alert. Apramattah bhavati. After that direct realization of the truth, when the mind becomes aware of the body and the world around and starts engaging in transactions, perceiving everything, the person remains alert so that the knowledge is never lost. This apramattata is Jivan Mukti. Thus, alertness is to be practiced at the time of meditation, and after the truth is known also, one has to remain alert so that the ignorance does not come back. The Bhagavad Gita says, Yath jnatva na punar moham evam yasyasi pandava. When you know this self, you will not get deluded again. That is another level of being apramatta, where there is no inadvertence, forgetfulness, or carelessness, even while transacting in the world. It is important to understand that not seeing the world is not called the realization of truth. Even when you see the world, even when you are aware of the body and do your work, that knowledge remains ever present as Satchidananda Rupoham. That awareness of the self is never lost. Otherwise, yogo hi prabhavapyayam. The practice of meditation is subject to prabhava and apyaya. The meditator gets elated when he is able to meditate well, unhappy when it does not happen, and gets worried about future sessions. In short, when the mind becomes quiet, he calls it very good, and when it does not, he feels that the Atma is not available and has gone away somewhere. The Atma never leaves, it is always there. The very nature of our one's own self. Nityopalabdhi Swarupo Hamatma. If we are not alert and vigilant and have not correctly gained this knowledge, then the yoga will rise and set prabhava and apyaya, laya. This is the problem. However, if it is properly understood and realized, then whichever way that person lives in this world, he always abides in the truth alone. Sarvatha vartamano pi sayogi mai vartate. Bhagavad Gita 4.35 6.31 Bhagavad Gita 6.31. Therefore, this meditation should be practiced with great alertness and with complete knowledge. Please remember that the Atma does not need any meditation. The realized master, the Jivan Mukta, also does not need this practice. It is for those who constantly feel they are not remembering or experiencing the truth. In the next two mantras, the steps of gaining this knowledge are pointed out because the process here is slightly different compared to other forms of knowledge. The first thing required for gaining this knowledge is Shraddha, faith, then that faith should be converted in converted to verified knowledge for ourselves. So the first step is acceptance, but don't stop there. Inquire and see the truth for yourself. In the field of secular knowledge, we also begin by accepting what the teacher says. But there is no inquiry like why is A called A, why blue is blue, why red is called red, and so on. Similarly, when we see water, we don't analyze whether it contains hydrogen or oxygen. We accept the formula of water, two parts of hydrogen and one part of oxygen. We feel that the earth is flat, it is not rotating, but we accept that since science says Shraddhavan Lavate Jnanam. So, even in the worldly field, faith is required. In the spiritual field, the first faith is in the Upanishad Pramana, firm faith that what the Upanishads say is true. Next, there should be faith that what the Guru says is true. Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vakyadishu Vishwasa Shraddha Tattvabodha. If that self is not accepted, then you go on refuting what is said and do not get any knowledge. Let us see the next mantra which explains this beautifully. नैव वाचा न मनसा प्राप्तुं शक्यो न चक्षुषा अस्तीति ब्रुवतोऽन्यत्र कथं तदुपलभ्यते. This Atma cannot be described by speech, naiva vacha, nor can it be gained or known as some feeling or emotion by the mind, na manasa praptum shakyate, and if it cannot be seen by the eye, chakshu. Here chakshu stands for all sense organs, vak for all organs of action, and manas implies buddhi and chitta also. With these equipments which we have, we cannot know the self. Even for that which can be known through them, faith is required. Whatever you want to study, faith is a must. In the sense of objective things, you can experiment externally. Generally, we presume that what we don't perceive does not exist. But when the Shruti says Asti iti bruvataha, the person who accepts the statement that the truth exists will inquire and get to know it. What other method is there for knowing? Anyatra katham tat uparabhyate. Even though it is our tendency to think that what we do not see does not exist, there are two entities that exist and can never become the object of our senses. Firstly, the seer, one who sees everything, cannot be seen by itself. Objects are seen, and that itself is the proof of the existence of the seer. Its nature is described by the Upanishads. Secondly, if we think of the beginning of creation, a question comes into mind. What was there when the creation was not there? Our faculties of buddhi and so on were created later on. They cannot know what was there earlier. The Upanishad answers this Sadeva Saumya Idamagrasit. Sat, Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.1. Sat alone was there earlier, so we must have faith that there is a Drashta, seer, and a Jagat Karana, a cause for the world, a creator of the world. In fact, our own existence proves this fact. I do not know who my forefathers were, but their existence gets automatically established by my own existence. It does not matter whether I know them or not, although I have not seen them. I know I will not be there if they did not exist. In the same way, the whole world is experienced by us as it is. Thus, the ultimate cause also has to be of the nature of existence only. To sum up, the process of knowledge says that one must have faith in the validity of the means of knowledge called Vedanta, in the teaching of the Guru, and in the existence of such a truth. Finally, one should have faith in one's own self, faith that I can gain this knowledge. This faith alone can lead you to knowledge through the process of inquiry and direct realization. We shall see more of this in the next issue. Satsang with Swami Swarupananda in Toronto, Part 3. Puja Swami Swarupanandaji conducted a Jnana Yajna in Toronto from July 20 to 24, 2024. After the lunch and dinner, Puja Swamiji would graciously hold informal satsangs with the devotees where the atmosphere was light, warm, and reflective. We present here the third question answer session from these inspiring gatherings. A divine guest. Question. Hari Om, I feel very happy and blessed. I retired about 10 years ago and have since been involved in social work, which I absolutely love. I have a temple at home with a full altar where I usually do my abhishek and puja. However, on busy day, I sometimes only visit briefly. My husband lights the diyas and I silently offer my prayers. Is that alright? Swami Swarupananda says, no, you must do both. Don't make excuses. Service to society is indeed worship of God, but only when done with the right attitude. Otherwise, we become attached to action, even to good action. Good action by itself is noble, and we should always do good. However, when it is performed as an offering to the Lord with a spirit of worship, it becomes karma yoga. Without that attitude, attachment soon creeps in. In the Dhyana Yoga chapter of the Gita, Bhagavan says that the true meditator is one who is neither attached to sense objects nor to actions, since he has renounced all desires for the fruits of actions. Bhagavad Gita 6.4. So continue to do good work, but as worship of the Lord. And since you have a puja room at home, at this stage of life, there should be no excuse for not spending at least 15-20 minutes a day in it. When a royal guest visits, you make time to receive them. Should the Lord be given any less? Remember, sadhana is not for God's benefit, it is to quieten and purify our own minds. Puja too is intended to cultivate a meditative mind. Now, in the altar room, if you are meditating, then you don't need to do external rituals. Meditating is the higher level, right? Yes, but if you are not yet meditating, then you must do puja, because puja prepares the mind and leads you towards meditation. Many people say meditation is essential, but it may not be practical for everyone at this time. So, if you cannot sit for meditation, then ensure that you serve society as a form of worship to the Lord. And when you have an altar at home, it means you have invited God into your home. Of course, He is everywhere, but once you have welcomed Him to dwell there, you must give Him your time and attention. That is why your daily puja is so important. Renounce all dharmas. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the concluding chapter, Bhagavan tells Arjun, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Renounce all dharmas and take refuge in me alone. Now, dharma is itself a positive word. It means righteousness, duty, the path that leads to liberation. So, what does Krishna really mean when he asks Arjun to give up all dharmas? Dharma is indeed the means to moksha, just as a car is the means to reach the temple. But if you sit in the car and never step out to enter the temple, it becomes a hindrance rather than the help. In the same way, family life is meant to help you rise above your personal likes and dislikes. But if you cling to it, it becomes a bondage. When Bhagavan says Sarvadharman Parityajya, it means the meaning goes far deeper. As Pujya Gurudev in his commentary explains, Dharma here also means the nature of or qualities of the body, mind, and intellect, all of which are finite and limited because the identification with them because of identification with them we take their limitations, the body's mortality, the mind's restlessness, and the intellect's pride. Fear of death arises only when we think we are the body. So Krishna is saying, give up identification with the body, mind, and intellect, the limited self. When you renounce that false identification, what duties remain? Our duties exist only in relation to this body and its worldly ties. When that identification is dropped, the sense of doership and obligation naturally falls away. It is not about abandoning your responsibilities. It is about transcending the false sense of I am the doer. So, it's not that we should discontinue our daily actions. What I was saying is, don't become attached to action. The goal of all action is to reach the infinite, call it God, truth, liberation, or nirvana. All action is meant to lead us there. But often we get stuck in the means. However noble they may be, whether in puja, in service, or in duty. That is why Krishna says Sarvadharman Parityajya. In the highest service sense, it means giving up identification with the body and its dharma, its nature and functions. It means letting go of identification with the mind and intellect as well, and therefore with all the external duties that arise from this limited equipment. At the same time, throughout the Gita, Krishna also teaches Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhayavaha. It is better to die doing one's own duty than to imitate others. So, duties and actions are not to be rejected, they are the means. In the sixth chapter, 2, Krishna explains that until we attain inner equipoise, action is the means. Once that state of balance and purity is reached, quietude becomes the means. Everything has its rightful place on the spiritual path. Vedanta provides us with this clarity, a clear roadmap that shows up to a certain point action and duty which purify the mind, and beyond that, knowledge and meditation which leads us to the ultimate truth. Detachment made easy. Swamiji, how do I detach myself from the world around me? Don't try to detach, attach yourself to something higher. How do we do that? By coming into the company of devotees and sincere seekers. When you attach yourself to something greater, detachment from the lower happens naturally. If you tell a young girl in an Indian family, you must detach from your parents, your brothers, your sisters, she will ask, how can I? But when she gets married and becomes the queen of her husband's home, she naturally grows into her new attachment. You see, detachment doesn't come by force. It comes when a stronger love arises. If your husband says, give me those diamond earrings, your first reaction might be, why should I? But if he adds, I am bringing you a larger, more beautiful pair, you will gladly hand them over. That's how it is with spiritual life. When you get attached to the Lord, to truth, to the higher, the hold of the lower simply fades away. True detachment is a product of deeper attachment to the divine. Turn worry into worship. Swamiji, I am now in my late 60s. What should I do at this age? Only the bhajan of God. And bhajan doesn't mean only singing. It can be meditation, prayer, or constant remembrance of Him through His name. You can already doing satsang. You are already doing satsang. That is wonderful. Stop worrying about the world. You can't do anything about it now. Don't worry about and the next generation, they will take care of themselves. Only then can your mind remain constantly in meditation. If worrying truly helps, then worry, but it doesn't in old age. Naturally, people become attached in childhood. We are attached to play in youth. We are drawn to pleasures in old age. We are often drawn to worry. But worry is like rocking in a rocking chair. It moves you, but you don't go anywhere. So leave the concerns of the world and contemplate on the divine. No other means of survival in forest, deserts, or for armies. People did theirs is farming and dairy Why kill the cow and that gives you milk? Nature's most complete food. In earlier times, people drew their strength from milk and its products rather than from killing animals. Life must feed on life. Even plants have life. The wise, therefore, chose to cause the least harm. When we pluck fruits or harvest grains, the plant has already completed its cycle. Similarly, if you must take with gratitude and give back to nature by planting again. As we grow spiritually, compassion naturally deepens. Then even the thought of hurting another living being, becomes painful. My grandmother used to say, "Don't break leaves unnecessarily. Don't even slam a door. There might be a tiny creature behind it. Everything is divine. Even a stone can hold life and grace, as Ahalya's story shows." So it's not about rigid rules, it's about evolving sensitivity. Some may still eat meat, especially in certain regions, but to justify it is not right. The higher way is to live in awareness and do the least harm possible in thought, word, and deed. Shortcomings, dosha. Swamini Vimalananda. Dosha in this context refers to shortcomings, wrongdoings, limitations, faults, negativity, or mistakes. The opposite of dosha is guna or sadguna, the positive virtue or good qualities. For the sake of understanding our mind and our life, doshas can be categorized as follows: karma dosha, limitations or faults in action. Any action, no matter how perfectly and beautifully executed, has its limitations. For example, every product has a manufacturing defect. It may be minuscule, but due to the limitations of the material, the process, human error, machine error, whatever the cause may be, it can never be 100% perfect. Similarly, all our actions are limited by the very instruments of action: physical strength and skill, mental strength, talent, intentions, abilities, the external instruments and materials we work with, as well as the external circumstances that govern the action. This is karma dosha. Actions can be self centered, kamya karma, enjoined niyata karma, like duties and good actions, punya karma, such as charity and spiritual practices, or forbidden actions and sins, nishiddha karma, like cheating or robbery. Forbidden actions are full of doshas. A good action can have a good intention, but its execution can be poor. For example, good advice given in a holier than thou tone. On the other hand, a wrong action could have a fallout effect of unintentionally benefiting someone. Even ordinary actions such as talking or walking expend energy. Therefore, there is a flip side to all actions. Nevertheless, just because an action has limitations, it does not mean we should not do it. The Gita clearly says that we should perform our duties even if they have limitations. सहजम कर्म कौन्तेय सदोषमपि न त्यजेत्. गीता, Bhagavad Gita 18.48. For example, as a boss, one may have to fire an employee. This may create negative feelings towards us. However, duties must be done even if some are unpleasant. Repeating a bad action over a prolonged period multiplies the karma dosha, and it then becomes our very nature. Swabhava. The same is true for a good action. We cannot exist without action. So, knowing the nature of actions, we must do the right action with the right attitude. This is called Karma Yoga. This minimizes Karma Dosha. Sangha Dosha, negative effect of association. Sangha Dosha is attributed to the negative influence of a person. Adverse person, adverse circumstances, or a toxic environment sometimes places themselves due to their architecture are not very conducive. They produce unconducive energies. The fact is that everyone and everything influences everyone and everything else. People influence people, things influence people, and people influence things. Plants and animals influence us, human beings. Of course, influence us the most. Human beings influence us the most. The influence can be good or bad. The longer the association, the greater the influence. A brief association may have a short-term influence and even a short, strong influence can last a lifetime. Strong influences become our action and in time our very nature. The great and strong-minded influence others more, and the ordinary and weak-minded are influenced more. The strong-minded can choose to be influenced, the weak-minded are easily influenced. However strong we are all influenced by good and bad associations to a greater or lesser extent. Some are affected mentally, while others are affected physically too also. As the ruler, so the people, Tatha Raja, Tatha Praja. In a democracy, as the people, so the elected leader, Yatha Praja, Tatha Raja. The prominent and dominant individuals of a particular time have an enormous influence in that era. For example, Narendra Modi, a great Prime Minister, has a strong positive impact on Bharat, while some other strong leaders have made corruption a way of life. The influence of people like Adi Shankaracharya and Buddha extends over centuries. Sangha dosha can thus be mitigated Through satsang, association with the presence, thoughts, words, and deeds, all the good and great. Charitra dosha, false in one's character. Some people are violence mongers, sadists, cheaters, demeanors, bullies, or liars. This could be due to upbringing, a hostile environment, or repeated wrong actions. Inborn and deeply rooted traits are significantly more challenging to change than those acquired during one's lifetime. Additionally, it is easier to change one's character when one is younger, when they become our second nature through repetition, like an addition, like an addiction, they become our natural tendencies, vasanas, and are extremely difficult to overcome. Very often, people are unaware of the faults in their character. I know of people who tell lies so easily that they don't even realize it. If you tell them they have lied, they wonder what is wrong with us. To realize it, or come up immediately with another lie to cover it up, it becomes natural for them. The worst is when they fool themselves. Fooling others is one thing, but when we deceive ourselves, we will never come out of our faults. As long as we think, "Oh, so what? Everyone does it. There is nothing wrong with it. There is no way of getting out of it." When we recognize this is harmful to me, like poison, and results in sorrow, we begin to change. We often fail to realize that speaking lies is harmful because there is no immediate visible effect. Unlike poison, which kills instantly, denial, justification, and realizing our faults do not help. Sometimes we are just too lazy to get out of these patterns. Or sometimes the faults are too intense and compulsive. Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Choose your words because they become your actions. Understand your actions because they become your habits. Study your habits as they become your character, and develop a positive and noble character as it becomes your destiny. Constant introspection or objective observation of our own mind's workings makes us aware of the faults of our character. First significant step in correcting ourselves. This is the first character of our character and helps us to acknowledge and accept them as such. This is the first significant step in correcting ourselves. Spiritual practices coupled with right thoughts and actions help us change our faulty character. Swabhava dosha, flaw in one's inherent nature. Some are born creative and some are by nature swabhava destructive. As we have already seen, repeated faulty actions, karma, negative associations, sangha, and acting with a defective character creates faults, create faults, which becomes our second nature, significant. Second nature, Swabhava. Both nature and nurture contribute to the formation of one's Swabhava. Scriptures and research indicate that a significant portion of our nature is formed or manifests during the first 7 years of our lives. The early years of life lay the foundation of the superstructure of our lives. People who are brought up in poverty often remain tight fisted when they become wealthy, and we see in some small minded individuals in powerful positions one with inherent goodness and good upbringing behaves nobly despite challenging situations. It is indeed exceedingly difficult to change our inborn nature and strong character faults, as in the case of alcoholics. External and internal control have a limited effect, as all living beings are propelled by their natural tendencies. What will one gain by repression? प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निग्रह किं करिष्यति. Bhagavad Gita 3.33. A womanizer does not cheat out of fear of being caught. Remove the external factors and he reverts to his nature. Some of the negative traits, such as stinginess or laziness, are not character flaws in the sense that they are not inherently bad qualities. A generous nature is great, but it is not a sin. Adharma to be stingy. Similarly, being petty is not a character flaw, although it is not a desirable quality. A telling tale of transformation. Let us explore the example of sage Valmiki. Born a Brahmin as Ratnakar, he was a son of sage Prachedasa. It is said that he befriended a Kirata belonging to a hunter tribe who had criminal tendencies, Sangadosha. He started looting people, Karmadosha, and over a period of time became a much feared dacoit with violent tendencies, Charitra Dosha. This then became his second nature, Swabhava Dosha. Once Ratnakar wished to rob Sage Narad, which asked why he did so. He replied that it was for the sake of his family. Sage Narad asked him to check if his family and children would partake of the results of his sins. Their refusal was a blow to him. The teachings of Sage Narad Satsanga inspired him to make a change. However, Swabhava dosha does not change overnight. Sage Narad asked him to repeat Ram Ram. Used to looting and killing, he could only chant Mara Mara. Years of diligent practice transformed him into the great sage Valmiki, the author of the unmatched scripture, the Ramayana. This shows that even an extraordinarily strong Swabhava formed through Sangadosha can be changed through the power of Satsanga, Jnana, right knowledge, शुभ संकल्प, right resolve, दृढ दार्ढ्य, दृढता, निश्चय, दृढ निश्चय, determination, and sadhana, spiritual practices. The world is full of opposites, good and bad, guna dosha. We must take the good and leave the bad, or at least minimize the bad. We must finally reach a state that transcends the opposites of good and bad, right and wrong, and ethical and unethical. That is the state of liberation. ओम जगत साक्षिणे नमः. स्वामी अपराजितानंद. ओम जगत साक्षिणे नमः. Salutations to the witness of all worldly happenings. Puja Gurudev taught us how to remain in the thick of the world and still be unaffected by it. Padma Patra Mivambasa, Bhagavad Gita 5.10. Like the lotus leaf in water. Once a devotee asked Puja Gurudev Swamiji, we are samsaris, worldly people. We have possessions and positions, friends and relatives, duties and responsibilities. How can we, samsari, ever progress in spirituality? Puja Gurudev, the head of several Chinmay mission institutions worldwide, laughed aloud and said, if worldly activities are to determine a samsari, I should be the greatest samsari. How to remain in the world and yet remain unaffected by it. Puja Gurudev taught us, hold on to the permanent in you and play in the realms of the environment, impermanent. Hold on to your real identity, the eternal Sakshi, witnessing consciousness in you, and play your role in the drama of the ephemeral Jagat world. The devotee continued, Swamiji, who is a samsari? Gurudev replied, the one who is behind samsari is a samsari. When we get very much attached to the creation, samsari, and forget the creator, we become the samsari. We become a samsari. Thanks to the tireless efforts of Puja Gurudev, over nearly 4 decades, the Chinmay mission has evolved into a global organization with hundreds of branches and thousands of devotees worldwide. At the age of 75, even when Gurudev's heart was functioning at only 18%, he was active 18 hours a day. Even with his failing health, Gurudev's day was fully packed with discourses, meetings, responding to letters, world tours, and so on. An army officer, unable to believe this, once asked Gurudev, Swamiji, what is the source of your inspiration? Gurudev, knowing his nature, answered in a language understood by the army officer, while you take rum, I take Rama. In his latter days, an ailing Gurudev was approached by an old lady. She expressed her concern. Swamiji, are you not worried? What will happen to Chinmay mission after you are gone? Swamiji gave a loud laugh and said, Amma, Chinmay mission is his vision, his decision, and his implementation. And if he feels society has benefited from the mission, He will ensure its full future extension and expansion. Why should we go through worry and tension? The Bhagavad Gita says that the state of a knower of the self is that I don't do anything. Om Jagat Sakshine Namaha. Our grateful prostrations to Puja Gurudev, who taught us how to abide in the witness bliss within amidst worldly blisters without. Swami Chinmayananda, Axis of World Understanding, Swami Banerjee. One of the earliest lessons learnt in childhood was that the earth rotates around its axis and that this axis is not a physical entity. It exists but in the form of unseenness. Yet everything rotates, gushes, and rushes around the energy of this unseenness. Much like the Vedantic vision and teachings of Swami Chinmayananda, decades after his physical departure from this world. Different axes of the earth. We also learnt that at the earthly ends of this axis are the North Pole and South Pole. Poles never meet. Hence the word polarization. The axis itself, however, continues endlessly into infinite space as the infinite anchor of the Jagat and its worldly life and strife. The other thing that we learned is that the Earth's axis is tilted, and that it is this tilt, this Leela of the infinite, so to say, that creates the wondrous diversity of the Earth's seasons, its days and nights of different lengths, and the ecological and habitat diversity that have shaped its many races, cultures, flora, and fauna, just like the supreme truth and its projection, Maya. As I grew older, I came to realize that the earth has had many metaphorical axes as well. For extended periods, the earth rotated around the axis of discovery of new lands and new frontiers, around the axis of scientific discoveries, around the axis of spiritual awakening, and around the axis of cultural and artistic renaissance. And through all this and more, two kinds of axis have always been at play: the self centric axis of war and conflict, political, economic, religious, and cultural, and the self elevating axis of inner perfection, understanding, tolerance, harmony, and peace. Gaza, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, Christian, Jew, Hindu, Muslim, Kuki, Meitei, American, Hispanic, black, white, I could go on and on. And of course, add to that, brothers at the throats of brothers in more than 30 civil wars of various kinds, raging on almost every moment in the world today. The world today seems to be spinning on the axis of animosity, aggrandizement, intolerance, and polarization. It is in these polarized times that Swami Chinmayananda's belief and teachings shine like a powerful lighthouse of knowledge. They guide the floundering ship of humanity to harbors of understanding and peace through his Vedantic world view. The Vibhuti of love. Like Sri Adi Shankaracharya and Swami Vivekananda, Swami Chinmayananda gave the clarion call for dynamic spirituality. Spirituality is not about passively accepting self knowledge for personal satisfaction, but rather about igniting self knowledge that empowers the individual to be a torchbearer of positive change in the world around him or her. It was to carry this elixir of dynamic spirituality to people in far corners of the world, beyond race, color, and political, cultural, or religious divides, that Swami Chinmayananda embarked on intercontinental yajnas to establish Vedanta centers worldwide. These yajnas have been continued gloriously by his successors, Swami Tejomayananda and Swami Swarupananda. Puja Gurudev saw Vedanta as a key to unlocking a world where there can be more acceptance and less rejection, a world where there is more alliance and less alienation. For him, Vedanta was not a crown of self centered indulgence ringed with the halo of intellectual superiority to wear and strut around in the world. For him, it was the vibhuti of love, compassion, and oneness to be smeared on the soul with deep humility and gratitude. Mission Statement: the panoramic, all embracing sweep of the Chinmay brand of Vedanta is encapsulated in the Chinmay mission statement given by Pujya Gurudev himself to provide to individuals from any background the wisdom of Vedanta and practical means for spiritual growth and happiness, enabling them to become positive contributors to society. Every Chinmay devotee is familiar with this statement, but let us attempt a componential deconstruction of it to gain a deeper and practical understanding and application to provide individuals from any background. First, the wisdom of Vedanta, second, the practical means for spiritual growth and happiness, and provide one and two to the entire world, and for what? To enable them to become positive contributors to society. It is the responsibility of every devotee of Swami Chinmayananda anywhere in the world to view him and follow him in the mirror of his mission statement with relentless scrutiny of one's thoughts and actions every day. And only then can one be a true vehicle of the motto given to us by Puja Gurudev to of its of this Neya universe. All individuals together form a community, nation, or world. Apart from the individuals, there is no world. Without distinction, all your minds put together is the world outside. If the majority of the minds are egocentric, utterly selfish, arrogant, vulgar, and without character, then that society, that community will be of the same character. That nation is no nation, it is only a country where a population lives. There is no integrity between themselves and no understanding internationally. Through individual perfection alone can world perfection be aspired. In all the world's scriptures, that is the conclusion of our great thinkers of the past. I am not talking about Vedanta or Indian textbooks. Is not the Bible saying the same? Is not the Quran saying the same? Is not the Dhammapada of the Buddhists saying the same? Every great master who has given thought to it has understood that the cause of for the sorrows of the world is the imperfection and disturbances of your own mind. Repeatedly, in many of his statements, we see that his vision of Vedanta was not restricted to Hindus and Hinduism, nor was it injunctive when it came to people of other religions desirous of joining Chinmay Mission Vedanta classes. In a famous television interview in Australia, On being asked if non Hindus needed to forsake their religion to join the mission's Vedanta classes, he is emphatic in saying Vedanta does not mean that you have to give up your religion and come here. Pursue your own religion, but you must know what are the steps, why I am taking these steps. With this understanding, when you go, it is more effective. You can remain in your religion because your religion can alone take you there, but only with a little understanding that orientation Vedanta gives. He goes on to assert there are very many non Hindus, especially Jews, Christians, where we have our centers. They are in the Middle East also. There are many Arabs, still they are Muslims. They must study their texts because that is where they are born. From childhood onwards, it was there and it is easier for them to appreciate it. So they need not change their religion but understand that in fundamentals, it is all one and different ways of reaching the same goal. The emphasis may be different, but the path is the same. With great humility, he points out that Vedanta serves as a foundation for all religions, as it deals with the fundamentals upon which all religions are based. All these fundamentals collected together is Vedanta. At the same time, he does not hesitate to drive home that since historically speaking, Vedanta came earlier, the world has to accept that it is the basis upon which all religions stand, and that if any religion is contrary to Vedantic fundamentals, then it is not a religion but only an apparent look of a religion. Two features of religion. In the history of Indian spirituality, Swami Vivekananda and Swami Chinmayananda stand out for a very erudite reason. Their immense knowledge of world history, literature, the science and the social sciences, in addition to their mastery of scriptures. This gave their spiritual vision a very wide grasp. As a result, the immense pride they had in India's great spiritual and cultural heritage was tempered by an in depth understanding of other religions, races, and cultures. It is this that enabled them to appreciate the ritualistic differences among various religions and took beyond them to see the unity of the world's faiths. Religion, Puja Gurudev taught, has two aspects, one being the depth of its philosophy and the other being its ritualistic aspect, or as he puts it, its social discipline aspect. He explained that this social discipline aspect can be quite different in every religion because it is a product of the social conditions prevalent at the place where the religion originated. In explaining this, he gives the example of Islam, in which one of its central tenets, no idol worship, was born out of the need to integrate the different warring tribes of the region who worshipped different idols. So, what I mean, he says, is that there may be this concept of the reflection of the social conditions of the time in the superficial behavior of the religion, that is the ritualistic aspect, but the depth of the philosophy in it will be universally applicable. When asked about the difference between Christian mysticism and Hindu mysticism in the same Australian TV interview, Swami Chinmayananda said, at the mysticism level, there is no quarrel. All are one, as if everybody copied from the other. Honestly, even the physiology is the same now. Even your description of God, it is timeless, it is birthless, it is deathless, immortal, eternal, immutable, changeless. These are the same words in all the faiths. Even the Quran says the same. Christianity also says the same. So you see, it is only at the lower level that there are distinctions. The church is not like the mosque. The mosque is not like the temple. The puja vidhi is different. The dress is different. And what you offer to the Lord is different. However, there is this is due to climatic conditions, etc. All these are unnecessary power politics, I tell you. Nothing but that. It is not religion that is quarreling. And he goes on to give a prophetic warning to all nations and all religions of the world. Religion with politics quarrels. They are mutually allergic to each other. When religion and politics come together, religion also spoils and politics also spoils. Puja Gurudev was one of the greatest custodian and ambassadors of Indian culture and Hinduism. His exposition of the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and scriptures like Viveka Chudamani stands unparalleled in the world of spirituality. It would be an injustice to his greatness to think that this world was just India, that this world was just Hinduism. It was both and yet a lot more. For millions of people of many cultures, many nations, many faiths, many colors, and many languages. Swami Chinmayananda is the access of the infinite, individual truth that deep down we are all one, and Chinmayi Vedanta strengthens this oneness. I saw and heard Swami Chinmayananda for the first time in my early teens, or possibly just before that. When I walked into Chinmay Mission on Lodi Road many years later, I was never to exit mentally again. The first thing that drew me was the name Swami Chinmayananda chose for the center, Chinmay Center of World Understanding. I think it is a name through which Puja Gurudev is calling out to us today, calling out to the world today. ओम स्थित प्रज्ञाय नमः वेंकटेश वल्लभी मुख्य सेवक वेंकटेश वल्लभी has served Chinmay Mission in Michigan. For the last 27 years, he completed the Vedanta course at Sandipani Sadhana Lake, Hawaii from 2017 to 19. Sthita Prajnaya Namaha. Salutations to the one who is established in the highest wisdom. When this name of Puja Gurudev is chanted, a question arises in the mind of the sadhak seeker. What is the destination of the spiritual highway? Who has reached that destination? How does he behave? How does he act? The same questions were asked by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita 2.54. Anchored in wisdom, Sthita Prajna. Sthita means to be firmly established or rooted in. Prajna generally means intellect. Prajna generally means intellect, however, in the current context, it means consciousness. In simple words, Prajna is jnana, knowledge or wisdom, which is consciousness. In short, Sthitaprajna refers to a man of steady wisdom and equipoise, rooted in the knowledge of the self, Atmajnana, and merged with that supreme Brahman. Bhagavan Shri Krishna gives further answers in the last section of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. These indicators of one who knows the Supreme Self, Sthita Prajna Lakshan, serves as benchmarks for all spiritual seekers. In verse 2.55, Sri Krishna says that one who has reached that stage of desirelessness is ever revealing and content in his true self. He is equipoised and maintains equanimity. He does not hanker after pleasures, has rejected both Bahya Vishaya external pursuits and Bhoga Vishaya objects of pleasures, and is free from attachment, fear, and anger. Such a sage is known as a Sthitaprajna, a person constantly absorbed in Brahman. Freedom from while living. An oft quoted verse from Bhajagovindam to describe this Jivan Mukta Lakshan are the indicators of one who knows the Supreme Self reinforces this idea. योगरुतो वा भोगरुतो वा संगरुतो वा संगविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नंदते नंदते नंदते. One may take delight in yoga, union with the Lord, or bhoga, worldly enjoyment, may be delighted by company or solitude by only a person whose mind delights in Brahman, alone enjoys real bliss and is satisfied, no one else. He is reveling in that absolute state of fulfillment. The Gita calls such a person a Sthita Prajna, one who has realized the truth and abides in it even while living in this world. A Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta literally means liberated while living. He enjoys the Brahmi sthiti of being one with Brahman. This is the prayojana, the result of self-knowledge. Atma Jnana Phalam. The sadhak has reached his destination. Baddha, one who is bound, has become Baddha, the enlightened. Buddha has become Buddha, the enlightened. Manava has become Madhava. This is the journey of the sadhaka from a life of mamata, egocentric, to samata, God-centric, to purnata, a life of total fulfillment. Having known this highest knowledge, there is nothing more to know. The Jivan Mukta is one who has a firm conviction. I am existence consciousness bliss. This is effortless awareness for him. This firm conviction stems from the strength of his knowledge. This awareness for an Atmajnani is unbroken, spontaneous, and natural. He lives only for the general welfare of others. We owe a debt of gratitude to our Puja Gurudev, who had a transformational effect on our lives with his teachings. He tirelessly worked to benefit humanity with this ancient wisdom. bringing the treasure of Vedanta to our doorsteps in a language we understand with examples culled from our daily lives. Gita Panchamrit, learn, live and lead. What is the Gita Panchamrit? Gita Panchamrit is a daily sadhana of learning, chanting and reflecting on five carefully chosen verses from the Bhagavad Gita, though drawn from different chapters. These shlokas together offer a complete spiritual path, guiding the seeker from self effort to surrender and from purposeful action to inner freedom. This initiative welcomes everyone regardless of background to absorb the Gita's essence, live in wisdom, and share its life through simple and consistent practice. It becomes a source of strength, clarity, and connection in daily life. Five shlokas, one essence. Take charge of your life and rise up. उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानं अवसादयेत् आत्मैव यात्मनो बन्धुरात्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. One should lift oneself by oneself, one should not lower oneself. The mind is verily one's friend, the mind is one's own enemy. How does one uplift oneself? कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर्माते संगोऽस्तु. Thy right is to work only, but never to its fruits. Let the fruit of action not be thy motive, nor let thy attachment be to inaction. Develop an attitude of dedication. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat purusham adarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, whatever you practice as austerity, O Kaunteya, do it as an offering to me. Shri Krishna's assurance, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Puripasate, Tesham Nityaviyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyam. To those who worship me alone, thinking of no other, to those ever self-controlled, I provide that they need what they need and preserve what they already possess. Bhagavan frees us from all bondages. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Aham tva sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandoning all dharmas of the body, mind and intellect. Take refuge in me alone. I will liberate thee from all sins, grieve not. Gita Panchamrit distills the Gita 700 transformative verses into 5 chosen by Pujya Swami, Pujya Guruji Swami Tejomayanandaji and Pujya Swami Swarupananda. 5 verses that anyone can learn, chant and live at a time when information overwhelms but inner strength feels scarce. These shlokas offer clarity, direction and steadiness. The first 3 verses 6.5, 2.47, 9.27 speak directly to the seeker to uplift oneself through disciplined effort, to work with clarity and without attachment, and to transform daily life by dedicating every action to the divine. The final two 9.27 and 18.66 bring Lord Krishna's compassionate equerry response, assurance of protection, guidance, and freedom for those who live with sincerity and dedication. Together, they form a complete pathway of self effort supported by divine grace. Hari Om Tat Sat. ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः. ओम श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हरि ओम.